Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam Karuti Vachalam Pangam Langayate Girimyat Kripatam Hamande Shri Gurudev Talane Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Jai Gurudev. All right. Thank you everyone for joining. We're reading from Bhagavad Gita. We'll do chapter 2, Shlok 15 today. Please repeat after me. Yam hi na vyathiyanti ete, yam hi na vyathiyanti ete, Purusham Purusharshabha, Purusham Purusharshabha, Samadukha Sukham Dhiram, Samadukha
Tamasho Sati
Sukham
Santiram
Somritatvaya Kalpate, Somritatvaya Kalpate.
Kalpate.
Okay, so translation, I can read the translation. O best among men, Arjun, the person who is not disturbed by happiness and distress and is steady in both is certainly eligible for liberation. So Krishna is speaking this to Arjun. So last week we were reading the previous shloka, which was talking about happiness and distress coming like summer and winter season. And in the same continuation of the same theme, Krishna is telling, don't get disturbed by happiness and distress and be steady in both. That person is eligible for liberation. So he's not really saying that Arjuna, you should do that, but he's saying that a person who does this is eligible. So we'll read the purport and discuss more. Anyone who is steady in his determination for the advanced stage of spiritual realization and can equally tolerate the onslaughts of distress and happiness is certainly a person eligible for liberation. In the Varnashrama institution, the fourth stage of life, namely the renounced order, sannyas, is a painstaking situation. But one who is serious about making his life perfect surely adopts the sannyas order of life in spite of all difficulties. The difficulties usually arise from having to sever family relationships, to give up the connection of wife and children. But if anyone is able to tolerate such difficulties, surely his path to self realization is complete. Similarly, Arjun's discharge of duties as a Kshatriya is advised to persevere even if it is difficult to fight with his family members or similarly beloved persons. Lord Chaitanya took sannyas at the age of 24, and his dependents, young wife, as well as his old mother, had no one else to look after them. Yet, for a higher cause, he took sannyas and was steady in the discharge of his duty of higher duties. That is the way of achieving liberation from material bondage. Okay. So here, Krishna is telling Arjun about happiness and distress and how one has to be steady in both. Now, when we see in this world, many times there is talk about how to stay steady in distress, how to control ourselves, how to actually um, overcome the tough times we may be going through. But the world generally doesn't talk about steady in happiness. Not many people say how you have to be steady and not get too excited with happiness. But here, the point is to tolerate the emotions, whether it's happiness or distress, in a mature manner, in a manner where one is not get too much affected by these things. Arjun has got too much affected currently with distress, thinking about the future and how that would affect so many families, the whole world actually. And because of that, he was so much in distress that he was not able to take any steps forward. He was unsure which one is the right way to go. And in this particular situation, Arjun is looking up to Krishna, and Krishna in this shloka is mentioning how happiness and distress one has to be steady. And Prabhupada in the shloka's purport gives couple of examples. One, he's giving the example of sannyas ashram. So there are four ashrams. Can anybody tell what are the four ashrams? So one is brahmacharya, grahastha, vanaprastha, and last one is sannyas. So these are the four ashrams: brahmacharya, grahastha, vanaprastha, and sannyas. So brahmacharya is student life, where one is focused on studying, learning, developing skills, and so on and so forth. Grahastha is household life, where one actually get married and with the family engages in sustenance of the family as well as the higher self, spiritual advancement. That's why ashram. Then third is vanaprastha ashram, where one actually starts to get more and more detached from the uh, resources or the privileges which one was getting in household life and getting more and more focused on spiritual life. And sannyas is when one actually takes steps out of the comfort zone, comes out of all the resources and privileges and dedicate it to the family, the kids and the wife. They are, the ones. And the person, the man, takes the responsibility of actually serving the whole world, by elevating himself spiritually and also by giving that spiritual knowledge to others. The sannyasis travel all over the world to give this knowledge of spirituality to others. They will live simple life. They have to live with minimal resources or necessities. Should be ready to be staying anywhere on the floor if needed. And that way, there are very, very strict rules and regulations of the sannyas life. And Prabhupada is saying that those who adopt this, they make very fast spiritual advancement. And that is something which in Vedic culture was a norm. Um, brahmacharya, grahastha, vanaprastha, and sannyas. These four ashrams one has to, go through. That was a norm. And Prabhupada is mentioning how this can actually bring spiritual realization, but one has to tolerate all the difficulties coming there. And he gives the example of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that how he was in the young age, he took sannyas actually for the welfare and benefit of so many people. And because of him, we are actually all getting this benefit and access to the spiritual knowledge of the Bhagavad Gita. So similarly, just like it was done by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Arjun also can, in the same mood of detachment and tolerance, he should do his duty. Sannyasi does his duty, and Kshatriya has to do his duty of actually fighting. So that is the crux of this particular shloka. Any questions, comments, or any points anybody would like to share here? Nirmala Mataji, Menaka, anything any of you would like to share?
Hare Krishna. I actually was just thinking while you were speaking is that how, I mean, I know it's been like a norm in the culture to have these different ashrams, but as we continue in Kali Yuga, like, where do we foresee this happening?
Yeah.
Continue these these ashrams happening.
That's an excellent point. Thank you for bringing it up.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu quotes another shloka where it is mentioned that there are certain practices or regulations or recommendations which are given in scriptures. Certain things are actually not mandated in Kali Yuga. And there is a list of those practices, and one of them is to have sannyas ashram be implemented on everybody. That is not recommended for Kali Yuga. In fact, Kali Yuga, the sannyasis are very, very limited. In fact, it is the recommendation the sannyas ashram is not meant for Kali Yuga. So, if anybody is actually taking up sannyas, they are fighting with the whole flow of how the negative energy of Kali Yuga is coming. So, therefore, that aspect is not mandated like in the past. Of course, here Prabhupada is mentioning in general how the whole Varnashrama system is constituted and how sannyas is a part of it. But if you see many of the spiritual organizations or even in ISKCON, there is not much emphasis on sannyas because that is not the recommendation of Kali Yuga. But if one is able to practice Krishna consciousness and devotional service in whatever ashram they are, that is the highest. Like there is a shloka which says sthane sthita shruti katam tanuvan manobhir. So Lord Brahma is saying that to Krishna while offering the prayers that wherever we may be, if at that place we engage in hearing and relishing the beautiful knowledge of Krishna consciousness, either coming from Krishna or from a devotee of Krishna, that is the highest. Does it make sense?
Yes, thank you. I just another question is, I guess it's okay to skip ashrams. Like if we, I think I guess what my understanding is what I'm hearing is, and correct me if I'm wrong, is it's mainly about your intention, right? It's about your relationship with Krishna, regardless of the ashram. Is that correct?
Yeah, so basically, different people have different uh, guna and karma. They have different natures, they have different psychophysical nature. And based upon one's psychophysical nature, one has to see in what situation can I serve Krishna best. And in that environment, having that kind of a favorable association, one can advance in that manner. These recommendation of the scriptures of having varnashrama system is recommendation in general for people based upon how people's psychophysical nature is. But there are some people who may be very good in brahmacharya ashram. Others may not necessarily stay in brahmacharya. Brahmacharya ashram is for training, and then they may go to household ashram. And then some people may not go to household ashram. They may continue to be brahmacharyas. So like that, there are different recommendations for different people. But the point is, one thing trips everything else. That is, whatever is favorable for me to connect with Krishna, those things I can accept. What is unfavorable, those things I can reject. And like that, many great saints, sages, they did not really go into the technical details, but they were focused on getting connected to Krishna.
I like that. It keeps a good focus.
Yes.
So worrying about all the environment and worry about your relationship with Krishna.
Yeah, just like for example, if you are studying for a particular course, there could be certain standard way in which you can actually see so many people were able to get through the course and they were able to, you know, get honors or ace their exam. Uh, but everybody may not necessarily go through that standard regimen. Maybe 90% went and some did not go through that. They went in a different manner, consulted different books or had a different way of achieving, and they were able to get success through that. So it is, lot of it is actually dependent on how we are spiritually advancing. The barometer or measurement of whether we are advancing or not is our taste about hearing Krishna increasing or not? Is our desire to serve Krishna increasing or not? Am I hearing and chanting more or not? Am I actually relishing the association of those who are spiritually more advanced? If I am doing all of this and I'm seeing that how I was few years ago to now, I see myself spiritually going, my graph going up, then we can say that yes, I am in the right direction. And this should actually come along with internal transformation of the heart. From hateful, we are becoming loving. From the mode of passion, which is bringing us pride and exploitative mentality, those things are going away, and we are feeling more humble, we are feeling more service oriented, we are actually wanting to do more service. Those positive qualities, if they are coming, that means our implementation is somehow somewhere working, and we are getting the blessings of Krishna and devotees. So like that we can see.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. That was very, very nice question. Thank you for asking. Okay. Anybody else would like to make any points before we go to the next shloka? Okay, so we'll go to 2.16. Please repeat after me. Na sato vidyate bhavo, na sato
न सतो विच्यते भावो
na bhavo vidyate sataha, na
न भावो विच्यते सता
ubhayorapi drishtontas, ubhayorapi drishtontas, tva anyos tattvadarshibhi, tva anyos tat.
अन्योत्तत्त्वदर्शिभिः
Okay, anybody available to read the translation? Okay, I can continue to read. Those who are seers of the truth have concluded that of the non existent, the material body, there is no endurance, and of the eternal, the soul, there is no change. This they have concluded by studying the nature of both. Purport: there is no endurance of the changing body, that the body is changing every moment by the actions and reactions of the different cells is admitted by modern medical science, and thus growth and old age are taking place in the body. But the spirit soul exists permanently, remaining the same despite all changes of the body and the mind. That is the difference between matter and spirit. By nature, the body is ever changing and the soul is eternal. The conclusion is established by all classes of seers of the truth, both impersonalists and personalists. In the Vishnu Puran, it is stated that Vishnu and his abodes all have self illuminated in spiritual existence. Jyotimshi Vishnur Bhuvanani Vishnu. The words existent and non existent refer only to spiritual and matter. That is the version of all seers of truth. So, um, this purport has two paragraphs. I'll share so far what we have read, and then I'll go on to the next one. So, in this particular shloka, hear it very attentively, it could be a little confusing. So Krishna is saying those who are seers of the truth have concluded that of the non-existent, the material body, there is no endurance, and the eternal soul, and the eternal, there is no change. This they have concluded by studying the nature of both. So Krishna was just talking about how the body changes during our life, and at the time of death, we change from one body to another. But even during our lifetime, the body is changing, and happiness and distress comes throughout our life, and one has to tolerate. Now in this particular shloka, Krishna is mentioning about again the body and the soul, which he had told in 2.13, that the body is changing. So body at the time of death is gone, and the soul moves on to another body. So the body which died, which was in contact with the soul, and now the soul has gone out of the body, that particular body is not eternal because the body has got destroyed. So it's like non-existent. Non-existent means it's not in this particular context. Non-existent is actually meaning it's not eternal, doesn't have really a substance, because it is actually dead once the soul is out. On the other hand, the soul is eternal. So the eternal and the material body, sorry, the soul and the material body are in parentheses because they are implied here. They are not specified by Krishna in the shloka, but they are implied that non-existence, there is no endurance, and the eternal, there is no change. So Krishna is now talking about those great personalities, saints and sages, who have seers of the truth, Tattvadarshibhi. They have concluded. Like this, Krishna is basically quoting. And in first paragraph of the purport, Prabhupada is explaining that there is no endurance of the changing body. The body is changing every time, and different cells are coming. So even if you notice our body, it is having so many changes going on all the time. So many cells are dying and so many new cells are growing. So that change is happening. Whatever body I had 1 minute ago, my body is now slightly changed. So like that, it's always changing. It's not permanent. That is how the body is. Even our mind is changing. So body is changing, mind is changing, intelligence also changes, but the soul remains the same, and that's who we are. And Prabhupada is mentioning here from the Vishnu Puran, what is it said? His So Vishnu and his abodes all have self-illuminated spiritual existence. So in the spiritual world, we don't have any sun or moon or uh, a source of energy like electricity. Sun or moon may be there just for the pastime, but it is actually self-illuminated, the whole spiritual world. And in the material world, it's not the case. So the words existent and non-existent is for spirit and matter. That is what Prabhupada is mentioning here in the first paragraph. So I'll read the second paragraph and we'll discuss. This is the beginning of instruction of the Lord to the living entities who are bewildered by the influence of ignorance. Removal of ignorance involves the re-establishment of the eternal relationship between the ownership and the worshipable, and the consequent understanding of the difference between the part and parcel living entities and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So basically, the Bhagavad Gita is actually having the philosophical discussion starting now. First chapter, it was basically Arjuna speaking. Second chapter, in the beginning, Arjuna had further confusion and he decided to take shelter of Krishna, and he said he doesn't know what to do. And Krishna has started to speak in the last few shlokas, and this is the beginning section. And in the 10th chapter of this Bhagavad Gita, we'll see Arjuna will say, okay, I've understood. Actually, whatever you are saying, I understand it to be true. And then Arjun further asks few questions, but by that time, by 10th chapter, his confusion had kind of gone in one sense. And then finally, in the 18th chapter, he says he is clear what to do. So Prabhupada is saying this is the beginning of the instruction of the Lord to living entities who are bewildered by influence of ignorance. Removal of ignorance involves the re-establishment of eternal relationship between the worship and the worshipable, and the consequent understanding of the difference between the part and parcel living entities and the Supreme Personality of God. So in the beginning, we have to understand that we are not this body, we are not matter. This body is just temporarily under our control and it is going to be taken away, but we are eternal and we are the spirit soul, and this Prabhupada is saying is the beginning of understanding it. And once we have this, then we can actually connect with the Supreme. First we have to understand that we are not this body. One can understand the nature of the Supreme by thorough study of oneself. The difference between oneself and the Supreme being understood as the relationship between part and the whole. So Prabhupada is saying here that what is the relation between us and the Lord? We are just like a small part in the whole big machine, and the big machine is Krishna, is the Lord. So we are part and parcel of Krishna. So in that sense, we are very, very tiny, but we have our own place there in connection with Krishna. And if we go to that place, then we are actually most what do we call it, in the most stable, most sound, most appropriate situation. It is like the stable equilibrium, they say. Right now it's very unstable. Our bodies are changing. We are, in happiness, distress, a lot of moving parts. But to be stable, actually happy, Satchit Ananda, totally pleased, that we will be when we connect to the Supreme Lord. One can understand the nature of the Supreme by thorough study of oneself, the difference between oneself and the Supreme being understood as a relationship between the part and the whole. In the Vedanta Sutra as well as in the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Supreme has been accepted as the origin of all emanations. Such emanations are experienced by superior and inferior natural sequences. The living entities belong to the superior nature as it will be revealed in the 7th chapter. Although there is no difference between the energy and the energetic is accepted as a supreme and the energy or nature is accepted as the subordinate. The living entities therefore are always subordinate to the Supreme Lord, as in the case of master and servant or the teacher and the taught. Such clear knowledge is impossible to understand under the spell of ignorance, and to drive away such ignorance, the Lord teaches the Bhagavad Gita for the enlightenment of all living entities for all time. Okay. So basically, we are part and parcel of the Lord. This is the knowledge which is there in the scriptures, Vedanta Surutara, Srimad Bhagavatam. They are accepting that the Supreme Lord is actually the source and origin of all emanations, and there are different emanations. um, Here it says such emanations are experienced by superior and inferior natural sequences. Living entities belong to superior nature. So it can be understood that Lord has different energies: superior energy, inferior energy. The material world is the inferior energy, superior energy are the living entities, and this will be explained in future chapters. And there is no difference between the energy and the energetic. So energetic means Krishna, he possesses all the energies. So energies are the Shaktis, like Srimati Radharani or Durga. These are Shaktis. So there is no difference because they are actually coming from the Supreme Lord, Krishna. Living entities therefore are subordinate. So we are all energies of the Lord, also because we are in superior energies. Um, and all this knowledge is very difficult, but Krishna gives the cream of all of this in the Bhagavad Gita for us to understand, and we can connect back to the Lord. So that is what I can share from this shloka. Anybody would like to share any points here or ask any questions, clarifications? I'll read the translation again. Those who are seers of the truth have concluded that the non-existent, the material body, there is no endurance, and of the eternal the soul, there is no change. This they have concluded by studying the nature of both. Okay. So if
Sorry,
nobody has
I have
anything,
a question. Sorry.
yes, go ahead. I
Um,
was hoping somebody would bring up some points of discussion.
yeah, so while you were speaking, I was thinking, and I don't know if it's off topic or not, but the other day I was in the car and I was thinking, um, I was looking, I was at a stoplight and I was waiting to make a left turn, and then I noticed a crow had flown down into the median, and there was a homeless lady there, and behind her there was all this like garbage basically, and this crow just kept, eating at the garbage, and it just made me think like there's two sides to everything, right? One side is like I feel bad that the that soul is in that body, that they have to sit here and eat that garbage basically. And then on the other hand, I feel, well, it still is a soul, and Krishna is able. I feel like animals are also such majestic beings because, they have this intuition, this soul that's being driven by Krishna. And then I think about us as our human lives and how we use our life, to that we have this opportunity to grow spiritually. And then I think, well, sometimes we're worse than the crow because we are in, so much ignorance. That's all of us, I feel, in different phases of our life, and some more than others. And then sometimes we're better than the crow, because if we do happen to have those blessings from the devotee and guru, and we're able to really connect and think, then we can and feel, then we can actually, evolve ourselves spiritually. So I'm not sure if that's like off tangent here, but it's just like a thought that kind of spurred from what you were saying. Um, and building our relationship with Krishna. It's like sometimes it's like uh it's almost like, they say like to become as humble as, like, I think the quote is, I may be misquoting, is like to become as humble as a tree, right? And sometimes I feel like we can learn from animals, and sometimes and living beings, and sometimes I feel like we need to use our lives better to make the best of the body we're in, so that we can enhance ourselves. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank
Okay.
you. That was an excellent point, actually. Thank you for bringing it up, because
Yeah.
this shows that how Bhagavad Gita can be actually seen in practical life. Like when we see things around us, we can actually have a different perspective. Previously, when we were not thinking spiritually, we wouldn't have even cared who crow, what garbage, where it is. We must be like, oh, it's so dirty, if somebody should clean it up or whatever, right? And we would move on. But now we are seeing everything, even an animal or a bird, as a person. And we are having that kind of a mindset where we are even praying for that person. So this is like more being mindful and personal with each and every dealing, each and every person, and each and everything even.
Yes.
So this is very, very nice point you shared. And you're right, there are two different aspects. One is that, hey, this poor soul suffering in this body, but at least, we can see that Krishna is providing everybody. And we are grateful for what we got. But at the same time, we have to be inspired to utilize this opportunity more and more, because every single day we are losing, one whole day from our life. It is going away. So how I can use that in the best way spiritually is also very important, because spirituality is going to come with us, and other things, will stay here. Material things, they don't have eternality, but the spiritual things, they are eternal. So thank you for bringing those points.
Can I have a question in
Yes,
this regard?
please go ahead.
So, yeah, sorry, I just joined. Um, the soul is eternal, and that is the truth. We all understand that. But at the same time, are there types of soul, in the sense bad soul, good soul, and whatnot? And also, if we believe in rebirth, um, so does that mean a bad, if there are types of souls, or is it something else? And I would like to have clarification on that. Does that change or
Excellent.
it doesn't? Yeah.
Okay, so this is just going to come in this particular chapter of Bhagavad Gita only, but good you asked, so we can clarify. So soul, all the souls, they are actually qualitatively the same. What difference is in the subtle body?
Uh-huh.
So what we have discussed in the past is that we have layers. So the soul is one, but then
Mm-hmm.
the soul is covered by the subtle body, and then that is whole thing is covered by this gross body. So gross body is what we are seeing the person, we are seeing their gross body. So
Mm-hmm.
gross body, we can perceive it is made up of four elements: the solid elements, the earth, liquid elements, water, the energetic elements. There's so much energy in this body, so that is fire element.
Mm-hmm.
And air, there's so many different types of functioning of different airs and vayus happening, right? So that is air. And then ether, the space in which the body is. So all these are under gross body, which can be perceived. And then there is subtle body. Subtle body is comprises of three things. One is the mind. So mind is the storehouse, and the nature of mind is thinking, feeling, and willing.
Mhm.
Then there is intelligence. Intelligence is the second aspect of, or the second element of the subtle body. And the third is the false ego, or the false identification, how the soul is actually identifying. So these subtle body, mind, intelligence, and false ego, they are the storehouse of all the different impressions, natures, samskaras, experiences, whatever we are going through. And the
Mhm.
subtle body actually takes the soul from one body, the subtle body goes along with the soul from one body to another. And the subtle body, the mind, intelligence, and false ego, they stay with the soul. And
Mhm.
based upon that, the impressions which we are carrying, the soul act in a particular manner. That action may be taken as good or bad depending upon how we are seeing it or perceiving it. But in the language of Veda, you can say it is the karma which is being done by the soul, and the results which the soul is going to receive. And all this will be dependent on the impressions, the experiences, the whatever we are absorbing and imbibing and learning. All these things go with the soul. Now when there is a transition of the soul from one body to another,
Mhm.
the soul actually gets training how to live in that other body, depending
Mhm.
upon the body which one is going to receive. Like for example, a child, the child is just born, but the child knows how to breathe. The child knows how to suckle the mother's breast. The child
Mhm.
will know things which will be reflexes. So, how all that is happening is actually the training which the soul gets prior to the entering the body. And that
Mhm.
training is done in different souls based upon what body they are going to get.
Mhm.
And the subtle body, the mind, intelligence, and ego, they take the impressions. So sometimes with all this massive trauma of death and going to the other body and getting the training and all of these things, sometimes it takes so much toll that most of the um, past memories become irrelevant. But sometimes there are some situation or some souls, for them those memories still stay very relevant. Like for example, if they are born human again, if their previous
Mhm.
life was a human, this life is human. If they are born to be speaking in a similar kind of a language or similar situation, then they are able to remember the past life memories,
Mhm.
and then they are able to relay. But most people are not able to, because so many parameters actually have to fall in place, and the trauma and the injury and the whole cycle before we get this new body is such a big traumatic event, that a lot of the memories actually get disappeared. Does it make sense?
Mhm. Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. Nice
Mhm.
question. Anybody else would like to ask any question from this section or anywhere else? Okay, so we completed till 2.16. We will do our next shloka, which is 16 we did, right? Yes, 16 we did. So 17 we'll be doing next week. So we'll end here. Thank you very much, everyone. Very grateful. And I'll upload the videos in the group and share it, so that others who may have missed can catch up. Thank you.
Thank you
Ananta,
so much.
Thank
Jai,
you.
Hare Krishna. Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna.
Jai
Hare
Shri
Krishna.
Prabhupada. Thank you. Hare Krishna.